Before we get started on today's topic, I think it is important to talk about the real world in the film industry for a little bit. And I'll run through this very quickly, but just want to give all of our listeners and viewers some information on the Writers Guild strike that's currently happening. So the Writers Guild decided to go on strike, and there's, they're out on the picket line doing everything there. And my Audacity is crashing, maybe. We'll see. Never mind. Whatever. We'll just use the Zoom audio this week, I guess. But so what the damn it. Okay. So this information is courtesy of the Associated Press, and I want to go through what the writers want, basically, because I think it's very important to get accurate information on this. The trades are doing a very bad job of covering it. The studios want you to blame the writers for this. So here's what's going on. The writers want increased pay, for one. At this time, apparently 49% of writers make only minimum wage. And
wow.
Yeah. And writer pay has declined 14% over the last 5 years, accounting for inflation. So, I mean, basic request, right? Living wage. They also want some increases into their pension and health funds. They also want better residuals. And if you don't know what residuals mean in this context is back in the day for a TV show, if you were a writer on a season of TV, eventually that show might go into syndication. And then you as a writer were paid every time a rerun of an episode you wrote airs. And when it's sold in foreign markets and stuff like that, that doesn't exist anymore because of streaming shows. So one, streamers do not release viewer data for the most part. So a writer doesn't even know how much their work is worth anymore to the studio. And that is by design. The studios don't want them to know because they can pay them less.
Wow.
Yes. And so they want better residuals to account for the changing marketplace with streaming coming to the forefront, right? And next thing they want is staffing requirements. It has now become the norm to have what's called mini rooms of writers, where they're basically like 2 to 4 people tasked with writing X amount of a show before it's even greenlit. And then if the show isn't greenlit, all that works out the window. So they don't want that anymore. They want dedicated writers' rooms. The studios are trying to change the profession of writing into basically a day labor job. They don't want you to be a career writer anymore. They want to do a day rate. Writers don't want that. And they also want to address the fact that they're overworked and understaffed. They also want shorter exclusivity. So it used to be, when a season of TV is 22 to 23 episodes, you're pretty much working on that show all year, right? But now the norm is more 8 to 10 episodes. So it doesn't take as long, but the writers are still being held in exclusivity for about the same amount of time as they used to be. And they're being paid less because they're paid by episode. So they want shorter exclusivity so they can work when they're not working.
Wow, I had no idea that was still kind of a thing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And they want assurances on AI, basically safeguards ensuring that studios will not start replacing writers with AI to generate scripts or punch up existing scripts for rewrites and stuff like that. And that's it. That's all they want. The total cost of this industry-wide has been estimated to be $429 million per year. That's it. For contrast, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav made a salary of $39 million last year, plus stock options. He made around $200 million the year before. So this is a super easy expense for studios,
yes.
like mind-numbingly simple. So I just wanted to make the point right off the top. One, you should know what's going on if you're a fan of film and TV. And two, know where to direct your anger when your favorite show goes to shit because there are no writers on set or is delayed. It's the boss's fault. It's always the boss's fault. And for more information, we've linked strike info below. And if you want to materially support the strike, we've also linked that below, because lots of people in the industry are affected by this, right? The writers are going on strike, but, working actors and other cast and crew are like all affected by this financially too. So if you want to donate to a fund to help them pay their bills while this happens, that is linked below. Select film and television where it says direct my gift to, and that's what you do. So do you have any thoughts on any of this before we move on to the topic?
No, I mean, of course I do. It's I mean, it's an important thing to talk about because,
Mhm.
yeah, in the entertainment industry, it's changed so drastically, even within the past like 5 years.
Mhm.
Just like you were saying with streaming, like the rise of it, the pandemic certainly like
Yep.
pushed that along very rapidly because people weren't going to the theaters, people weren't going to TV sets anymore for a while, and then
Mhm.
now it seems like everything is just streaming. Like, you know, a movie comes out in theaters and then it's on streaming in like a week, you know,
Yeah.
even if it's a great movie and it's making a lot of money. It's just like that's just kind of the nature of the industry.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we do need those kinds of safeguards in place for these for the writers to give them what they want. And like, you know, even when it comes to AI, you know, the
Yeah.
generative AI, I don't have any fucking confidence that a generative AI could write a coherent, like, good
No,
TV
no.
show. Like we you know, ChatGTP is great, and of course it's only going to get better, but like there is a certain point where it's like this is made by a robot. Like I can
Well,
tell.
and it's made by other people's work. Like it doesn't.
Mhm.
None of these AIs think. They are fed data, and the data, especially like with those AI art things, they're fed data of other artists' work that they created and did not
Yep.
consent to have put in an AI. So, and another important note, like they're these studios and big companies are not going to stop with writers for this stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
and when AI comes for your job, there's not going to be a union there to protect you. This is one of the few sectors in the American economy that has any sort of labor power at all. So, like, this is kind of it. Like, the writers
Mhm.
win, or we will all lose in the next 20 years.
Yeah, and an AI is just not going to be as creative. Like, you know, these writers, like you were saying, it's been a career for them. They're
Mhm.
doing this all the time, like working on TV shows, and they move on to another project. They're building up their
Yep.
resume and like all the projects that they've worked on. So there's the originality and the creativity that's coming into all these different shows
Mhm.
by those writers, and you know you can't replace that. You just can't replace that. So
No.
yeah,
And
we
this,
definitely
but you
stand
can't,
behind them.
but the studios will. And the products they
Yes.
make will be shit. But as long as they're profitable, the money men do not care if they're making good things. Um, But enough about that. Thank you for indulging us for the first 10 minutes or so on that. But we can move on to our main topic.